Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and because a lot of newer players have been getting into the Overwatch beta and more people are taking an interest in Overwatch, I've been getting the question of which heroes are good for beginners a lot. So today I'm going to be bringing you guys the top 5 beginner friendly heroes. Now keep in mind that just because these heroes are good for beginners, they can still be used at very high skill levels of play. They still have high skill ceilings like all the other heroes, just they can be very effective in the hands of someone newer to the game. At number 5 we have D.Va. Now D.Va is really good for newer players due to her massive health pool and the fact that she doesn't have to reload ever. D.Va is extremely effective in terms of harassment because although she may not dish out an insane amount of damage at once, she cannot be ignored. If you just let a D.Va do as she likes, she will easily be able to kill you, and on top of that she is beyond hard to kill. And when she is killed, she just pops out of her mech, giving players a second chance. D.Va is really good for newer players because instead of having to worry about insane accuracy, players can focus on learning the maps and heroes. Along with that, D.Va has the ability to fly, which ends up being very helpful for newer players because not only can they move around the map extremely fast, but they can also use it as an escape. Say a player walks into a room filled with enemies, D.Va can just use her fly ability in order to get out immediately. One last thing that makes D.Va so great for beginners is her defense matrix. No matter what is thrown at her, she can counter most of it with the click of a single button, and this allows newer players to slowly learn what exactly is going on in Overwatch. Next at number 4 we have Soldier 76. 76 is great for beginners for an entirely different reason than every other hero on this list. He's the perfect starting hero for someone coming from more of a COD or Battlefield background rather than a TF2 or MOBA background. 76 has many features and abilities that make him familiar to those many shooter fans. First of all, his weapon is sort of a stereotypical weapon that resembles an assault rifle. It is probably one of the most realistic weapons that would remind you of a typical assault rifle you could find in Overwatch. He also has a sprint and is actually the only Overwatch hero that can sprint. Since in most military shooters you can sprint by holding down shift, having a hero in Overwatch that also sprints with shift is really helpful in terms of making it comfortable for newer players to get used to the game itself rather than just the movement mechanics. His assault rifle does very good damage and headshots are very devastating due to the huge damage bonus they provide. Now 76's ult gives the player aimbot for a few seconds, and this will hit home for a lot of COD fans. He also has a built-in heal which can allow 76 to heal as fast as many characters do in other FPSs, and he is easily one of the hardest heroes to master, but he helps give a very unique experience in terms of bridging the gap between Overwatch and many other FPSs. At number 3 we have the one and only Torbjorn. Torbjorn is very good for newer players due to the simple fact that he can create AI-controlled sentries. So if you are having a little trouble killing your enemies, your turrets can make up for what you might have messed up on. Torbjorn's primary fire can be fired extremely fast and used to sort of spam choke points or hallways along with just being a normal weapon. Another great thing about Torbjorn is that he can deal with enemies that get too close up using his alternate fire. His alternate fire completely melts enemies if hit properly and can actually insta-kill lower health heroes. Along with being able to fight and put up a hard to penetrate defense, Torbjorn is also helpful because he can provide armor to his entire team using scrap, and right now his armor is the only thing that actually costs any scrap. So even if you aren't doing the best in the game, you can still help buff your teammates. And as an added bonus, Torbjorn is kind of short, so I guess that means it could be harder to shoot you. Next up at number 4 we have Lucio. Now Lucio is easily the best support for newer players, mainly because he doesn't really have to pay attention to his teammates' health bars as much, because all of his support abilities are AoEs around him. He heals everyone near him and he can either boost that or switch it over to give his teammates a speed boost. The thing is, because it's an AoE, you can worry more about actually fighting rather than babysitting your team. Of course, you want to pay attention to your teammates, but it isn't as necessary as the other supports. On top of that, a lot of newer players like trying out more offensive heroes when they first start off playing Overwatch, and Lucio is a great compromise between damage and support. His alternate fire also blasts people away from you, so if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you can just right click to take a breather. Lucio's ultimate is easily one of the best ultimates in the game right now as well, so in games full of newer players, when you get your ultimate off as Lucio, it most likely is going to win your team the game. Lastly, the number 1 hero for beginners is Winston. Winston is great for newer players for a multitude of reasons. First of all, Winston has an insane amount of health and can also place a huge shield to protect his team. He also has a Tesla gun that locks onto enemies close up, so instead of having to worry about aiming, you can worry about other things like learning what other heroes do and the details about the maps you're playing on. He also, like D.Va, has an extremely good escape that can be used to get out of situations you probably don't want to be in the first place. It's his jump pack, and it can also be used to get to different parts of the map faster and even jump certain gaps in some maps. His ultimate is also great as you get into Primal Rage and gain a ridiculous amount of health and just start smacking everyone around. It's great for gaining control of an area and also really good for newer players because it's really hard to waste. Unlike many other ultimates, Winston's Primal Rage lasts a decent amount of time and you become practically invincible, so unless you accidentally press your ultimate button at the wrong time, you can't really waste his ult. And that's it. These are just my top 5 heroes I think are great for newer players, but keep in mind that doesn't mean any of these heroes are bad in higher skills of play, or take no skill to play. It just means that they have mechanics that are great for teaching beginners the game. And if you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like down below and subscribing, and if you want to watch more Overwatch content, click the video on the screen. Like always guys, see you next time.